Good afternoon, everyone. So we're going to make a start now. Thank you very much for joining this Clearing and Adjustment webinar. My name is Jim Cowcott. I'm a Schools and Colleges Liaison Officer at Royal Holloway. So one of my expertise areas is the Ucas process, personal statements, all that type of stuff, but also clearing and adjustment. So today, hopefully, I'll be able to give you some general information about clearing and adjustment, how to prepare, tips, all that type of stuff. And at the end of the session, we have one of our wonderful student ambassadors who actually went through the clearing process here to answer your questions as well. So before we get started, a few little sort of logistical issues or logistical things to kind of overcome first. So hopefully some of you have used this platform before. So this is GoToWebinar. So you'll be able to see on the right-hand side, whatever device you're using, hopefully there will be a chat function. And this is how you're going to communicate with us today. So any questions, any comments, anything like that can go in the chat function. I said questions we'll read out at the end. But we're going to start off very quickly just to check that that you can all hear me for a start, which is always helpful in one of these sessions. So if you can really quickly just type in the chat yes or no, whether or not you can hear me, that'd be excellent. Once we've got kind of a good number of responses, we will continue and we'll kind of get cracking with the main bulk of the session. I'm going to continue speaking, so there's something for you to hear. So just to fill the space. If you are unable to hear me, well, I was about to give you instructions, but that's not going to really work, is it? I'll pop some bits and pieces in the chat in a second about that. But most of you can hear me, which is great. And I think we'll probably move on with the session. So what we're talking about today, so what the key kind of elements of today will be is what is clearing and adjustment. That's going to be kind of our first thing. So giving a bit of definition to the general kind of process, giving some sort of general information about kind of what these words mean, what happens, all these really important bits and pieces. We're then going to talk about how to prepare for results days, whether things go your way or don't go your way. The audience I'm assuming you are either year 13 students, maybe a couple of year 12 students, probably parents and carers and supporters and stuff like that as well. So hopefully, this information will be kind of relevant for all of you. We're then going to move on to tips and timelines. So just a little bit of kind of the timeline between kind of now and results day and all that type of stuff, when the kind of key deadlines are and kind of when the key dates are. And finally, a question and answer session, like I said, at the end. So we'll be able to go through kind of any questions that you have off the back of the presentation or anything that's kind of coming in. I should say at this point, just to let you know, I'm unable to give any information about specific grades, specific requirements, specific individuals' grades, individual requirements due to Ucas embargo. And Royal Holloway having not published their grades yet. So if there's anything that's really specific, like what grades will biology be, I won't be able to comment on that, I'm afraid. But any kind of general tips and advice stuff, I'll be able to give a great answer to, hopefully. And as I said, we've got our fantastic student ambassador Evie here as well, who went through clearing herself. So we'll be able to give you again her own kind of tips and guidance to that as well. So we won't be able to answer any specific questions today, but we will be able to answer more broad and more general questions. I'm just going to very quickly type in the chat about those that can't hear. But so bear with me 1 second while I just do that, and then we'll get started with the session. I should say as well, before I do that, this session is being recorded. So the session is being recorded. So if you do cut out at all or having technical difficulties, or if you're only able to attend just the first half or whatever that is, you will be able to get a copy of the recording if you email schools@royalholloway.ac.uk, and I'll pop that in the chat as well. So bear with me 1 second. I'll just type a message for those that are having a little bit of audio issues, and I'll pop that email address in there, and then we'll get started. Okay, so now we've kind of hopefully those of you that weren't able to hear will be able to rejoin, etc., etc. But as I said, this session is being recorded, so you'll be able to get a copy of that if you email schools@royalholloway.ac.uk. The email address is in the chat now. So to get started, let's talk about clearing adjustment. Before we do that, a little bit about Royal Holloway, so where I come from today, where I where I'm representing today. So we are a campus university. Hopefully you all know who we are. That's kind of how you found this webinar, is by knowing who we are. On the right hand side are a few of the key links to do with clearing and adjustment. So I'll pop these up at the end of the session as well. So we have our clearing and adjustment web pages, which are www.royalholloway.ac.uk/clearing. And there's loads of information about there from a student perspective, from a supporter and parent supporter perspective, as well as other bits and pieces. We also have our course finder sort of function on our website as well, so you can look at our courses and get an idea of kind of what we offer, and our clearing hotline number there. So anything to do with clearing, whether that's on on the 10th, that's kind of ringing up to ask for places or see what's available, or beforehand just to ask for general kind of advice or kind of information that you may not be able to get. Hopefully be able to get all of the information, but some information that you may be not able to get from this session today. Advise calling the number. As I said, I'm going to move on from this now, but I will put these bits of information up at the end as well. So there will be information about this at the end of the session as well. So what is clearing and adjustment? What are these kind of key things? What are these kind of key bits and pieces that are going to be really prevalent in the next couple of weeks? So clearing is for students not holding an offer from university. So this is a process where students who aren't holding an offer, and for other reasons as well, which we'll go through in a second, are able to get places at universities that have vacancies, basically. So it's kind of a last chance to pick up a place at a university that you may, if you aren't holding an offer at the moment. Adjustment is kind of the flip side of this. So this is a chance to reconsider your choice. So this is a chance to think about where you'd like to go and whether or not you'd like to keep your firm choice or go elsewhere. Adjustment, again, we'll go through in a bit more detail later on, is for students usually that have exceeded their predicted grades or exceeded the grades of their offer. So say, for example, your firm choice were asking for 3 Bs and you got 3 A stars. Adjustment might be for you where you may want to look at other universities and see what they offer and what they're asking for, and go to there. Again, there's lots of things to really consider, and we'll kind of pick those apart in a moment. But adjustment, again, is a service that is there for students to help them make their decisions once they've received their results and once they've before they go off to university. And something that's still relatively new is Clearing Plus. So this is through Ucas, and basically it matches the university and course to you via your Ucas. I personally don't really know how I feel about that. I think a good old-fashioned research and a notepad and pros and cons might be a good way of going it. But Clearing Plus basically does that for you. Kind of looks at what you've gone for before, looks at what your grades are, etc., and matches you up with different universities and courses. So again, that may be a service that may interest you, but it's just kind of to flag that you're aware of that and it does exist. And how does clearing work? So as I said, kind of going into a bit more detail about clearing. So a quick kind of statistic for you: 73,000 approximately students went through clearing last year in 2020. So obviously 2020 was an odd year, especially for students receiving their A-level and equivalent results. But yeah, around 73,000 students went through clearing last year, and that number is usually pretty consistent over the years. Lots of students do go through clearing for whatever reason that is, whether they haven't quite met their grades or haven't quite or have changed their mind or whatever, or didn't apply to university in the first place. So clearing is relatively popular. And isn't kind of necessarily, as I said, a last chance necessarily. Is a good way of seeing what's out there, and just perhaps because you haven't got your grades or you didn't apply to university in time doesn't necessarily mean that there's you can't go to university, there's no place for you. So clearing, as we've kind of alluded to slightly already, is for students that applied after the 30th of June, so applied after that date. So if you apply 2nd of July, you will go automatically into clearing. Students that didn't receive any offers or none that they wanted to accept, so students that got their offers or didn't get any offers when they first applied, will be entered into clearing and be able to then try and find their place or find a place through clearing. For students that didn't meet the conditions of their offers, this is the most common type of student that goes through clearing, missed their firm choice and their insurance choice, missed those grades. So often students would then have to go through clearing, and ultimately at the end here, declined their firm place using the decline my place button on track. So this again is a relatively new function on Ucas that's only been brought in over the last couple of years, where students are actually able to decline their firm choice. Now, again, this is also a bit of a controversial one, because once you've declined your place, you've declined your place. There's kind of no going back on that, unfortunately. So this really should be used as a last chance, or a last kind of a last sort of thought, or a last option, I guess, is declining a firm place and then kind of looking elsewhere. If you are unhappy with the firm choice that you've chosen, my advice is to ring up the university that you perhaps have that firm choice with and discuss things with them first and foremost, and discuss what you're unhappy with or what you're not comfortable with, or what your feelings are, and get information from them. If then still you're still unhappy, then my advice would be to ring round universities first, see if you're able to get offers elsewhere before declining your firm place. So get all that information, get all of those offers that are maybe possible before actually just pressing that button to decline that place, because again, that's can't really go back on that. It's kind of quite final. So I wouldn't really risk doing that and not having a place at university until you kind of have a plan in place already. But again, clearing is for students that do decide to do that. And with clearing, Ucas track will tell you if you're in clearing. So Ucas track will tell you if you've been entered into clearing. It will tell you if you've been, if you say, for example, haven't met your grades, for example, or if it said if you applied after these dates or didn't receive any offers, it will tell you already that you're in clearing. At this point, you want to start beginning to look at vacancies, so looking at university websites or giving universities a call. Some universities put their vacancies on their website, so quite transparent with that and tell you kind of what grades they're after and kind of what is available. Some universities don't. They want you to call them. Ultimately, to get an offer from a university, you're going to have to call them anyway. So again, that's kind of a different ways of looking for vacancies. And again, we'll talk about that in a bit as well, about how to best find that information out. The main ways are by searching Ucas and university websites as well. So Ucas has a great function on their website, which we'll look at in a second. Obviously, if you have particular universities in mind, that can be really useful. That can be really useful to kind of have a look at. And you'll need to ring the universities, like I've said already. So to get an offer from a university, you will need to ring them. That's going to be really important on the day if you're trying to get offers. Again, same with adjustment as well. If you kind of are deciding you're going to have to ring the universities themselves. And not all universities take part in clearing. This is something that I think isn't always understood completely. Not all universities take part in it, but also not all courses will be available in clearing either. So Oxford and Cambridge, for example, don't usually take part in clearing. Other of those caliber universities don't. Some universities will enter clearing, but their grades will go up significantly. So really, they're looking for students that maybe perhaps exceeded their grades, or they're looking for students that got higher than they needed, or still got high grades, but maybe not happy at the university and stuff like that. So again, not every university is going to enter clearing, not every course is going to enter clearing, and not every university and course that does enter clearing is going to be lower grades or anything like that. So again, there's no kind of catch-all here. Every university has a different kind of perspective and a different process on this. And I mentioned a moment ago Ucas, using that as a search tool. My advice is using Ucas as kind of your main clearing search tool for vacancies and kind of courses and stuff like that. So really just a couple of snapshots what it looks like. You can find this information out if you just Google clearing, Ucas clearing, and it will come up with stuff. And basically, it's very similar to the Ucas course search that you would have used when you first applied or when you first started doing your research. Very similar process, but almost exactly the same. It'll give you kind of information about these different things. So kind of moving away from that kind of those bits and pieces, how can you prepare for results day? So how can you kind of get into the mindset of results day? How can you kind of get into that prepared state? So before results day, a couple of things to do. So first and foremost, get planning. So start thinking about what these options may be. Hopefully for all of you, you won't need to go through clearing or won't need to go through adjustment. If you already have a firm and insurance place, so hopefully you'll be able to go there. And that's obviously what you want, I guess, if you put them down as your firm insurance. However, it's always good to have a bit of a contingency plan. Start planning, start thinking about if things don't go your way, what universities would you consider? What courses would you consider? Is it just going to be the one course you've applied for, or will there be other courses that you may be a little bit flexible with, etc., etc. This doesn't need to be solidified. If you're confident you're going to get the grades or the teacher assessed grades that you expect, and they're going to be enough to get you to university, then these don't need to be finite. These don't need to be super detailed, but maybe listing 2 or 3 universities that you would be happy to contact and maybe go to. They may have been the other options that you had on your Ucas form. And the same with courses. Maybe it may just be the one course that you're 100% fixed to, but if you can kind of be a bit more flexible to maybe another course that you'd consider or you'd think about, that will help. Alongside that, then maybe just jot down the phone numbers of these universities. So again, if it happens on results day and you haven't quite got the grades that you needed, you have all that information there in front of you. You've set out your stall to yourself. You've already had that thought process and already thought about what you will accept and what you won't accept. The other thing is get researching. So alongside that is kind of researching, seeing what universities have on offer. Some universities will publish their vacancies, excuse me, a lot earlier. Some won't publish them until the day. You might just have to ring up on the day and ask them what their vacancies are. Again, there's no kind of catch-all for that. I have seen a message in the chat about when the vacancies become sort of open or published. Again, this really does depend on the university, and this could be this could be on Monday, this could be on tomorrow, this could be over the weekend, it could be anytime. Universities are really different in that respect. But try and get that research done. Start doing that research. As I said, doing that preliminary research of, okay, what university wouldn't I mind going to? What course would I mind doing? What are these universities perhaps offering through clearing? So in previous years at Royal Holloway, for example, we've offered guaranteed accommodation for students that have come through clearing that have fit certain requirements. So, accepted that offer by a certain point and have applied for accommodation by a certain date, et cetera, et cetera. So, what are the different things that universities may be offering in that way? When can you look around the university? All these different things that, again, if you're kind of pretty confident that you're going to get into the universities that you've got, then maybe 2 or 3. If you're a bit unsure, maybe 3 or 4. If you're convinced that you're not going to get into your firm insurance place, maybe 5 or 6. So again, getting a bit of research, spending a bit of time over the weekend to really start thinking about your options and what's available. The third one's getting ready. So getting kind of mentally prepared more than anything, kind of getting ready before kind of the big day. So this may be Monday. So before you kind of get your results on Tuesday, and find out about your places and stuff like that. So maybe it's worth kind of, having a day on Monday to relax and rest and kind of, start thinking about kind of getting into that mindset of what do I need to do? Because results day, if you have to go through clearing, can be quite chaotic. It can be very busy. So it's worth bearing that in mind. And finally, is a really simple one, is getting an early night. So again, schools release their, or will allow you, I don't know how it works this year, will allow you to come into school, I guess, or maybe they'll put it onto a portal. Usually it's quite early in the morning. Same with Ucas Track. There's no fixed time that Ucas Track updates, but usually in the past, it's around 8 o'clock, maybe 7:30, 8 o'clock. So again, roughly, not kind of very specific, it's not kind of exact, but that's kind of, in my experience, the rough sort of time that Ucas Track has updated. But usually it's kind of 8 o'clock onwards. So making sure you get an early night, again, because results day can be quite a busy day. It can be quite a busy day ringing up universities if you haven't quite got into where you want to go to university, or it can be a really busy day celebrating. So again, it's worth kind of thinking about that and making sure that you're as prepared as possible. So what if you get the grades you should? So what happens in that instance? So first and foremost, you want to check Ucas. You want to get the grades in front of you. Perhaps you go and pick them up from school, or they're on a VLE, or you're sent them, or however that process is going to work this year. Look at your grades. Yay, happy, celebrate, great. I've got the grades I needed. But still check Ucas. Make sure you're doubly into that university 100%. Even if you don't get the grades that you expected, still check Ucas, and we'll come to that in kind of the next slide in a moment, or in the couple of slides in a moment. But the first thing you need to do is check Ucas just to make sure that everything's correct. You want to wait for confirmation. So this may take a couple of days from the university to then contact you and just confirm everything, with kind of the next steps, what's happening next, all those different things. So wait for that. Start planning, start planning what you're going to take, what I don't know, bedspreads you're going to take, when you're going to do your IKEA trip, when you're going to, start packing, when's moving in day, what events are taking place in Freshers Week or Welcome Week, what is there any reading that you can do for your course already, get planning, start thinking about these things, get excited for it. This shouldn't be an arduous task. This should be something you're really excited to do, and only really do it if you are excited about the prospect. Fourth is, thinking about adjustment. Is that a possibility? Why would I want to do that? What are the different options available to me? What can I do? And then 5, obviously, is to celebrate. You've obviously had a very tough 18 months, as has everyone, but students, particularly students and parents of students, have had a very, very tough 18 months to 2 years throughout the pandemic, and homeschooling and virtual learning and exams not taking place in a traditional way, etc., etc. So this will be a really good opportunity to celebrate all of that. So make sure you do take some time out to enjoy yourself, celebrate, and be happy that you've got into university, and be happy that you've got the grades that you've worked so hard for. So adjustment, we didn't obviously speak about it earlier, so let's kind of talk about it now after the fact of you've got your grades. So adjustment, how do you decide what is best? So adjustment, like we've kind of already mentioned, is a service that's available for students that have exceeded the conditions of their firm choice. So like we gave the example earlier, if your firm choice is asking for 3 Bs, but you've got 3 A stars, you may be a student that could go through adjustment. This gives students a chance to find an alternative. So it gives students to search around, see what's out there, see what's available at different universities, and maybe perhaps explore different avenues, different places. Perhaps there was a university that didn't make an offer for you in the first instance that you really wanted to go to. Perhaps now with your grades that you've got, you may be able to go there through adjustment. Or perhaps there was a university that you didn't apply for because you thought the grades were a bit too high, but now you have those grades. Again, is that worth kind of looking through adjustment or something like that? Adjustments, you don't have to go through adjustment. You can be happy with what you've got and kind of sit with that and have your firm place and be happy to go there. And we'll talk about kind of the questions to ask yourself if you are considering adjustment in a moment. But if you do decide to go to adjustment, you can register via Ucas, but ultimately, again, you're going to be calling those universities. If you are calling the universities, make sure, because you will go through to the clearing line, make sure that you express it, very clearly that you're interested in adjustment rather than clearing. If you're interested in adjustment rather than clearing, they may be able to, there's usually a different line at the university, and it may be able to get through quicker. If you're looking to go through clearing, you can't cheat the system by saying, oh, I'm looking to go through adjustment, because they will just divert you back to the clearing line. But if you are generally interested in adjustment, I said, ring up the universities, again, see what they can offer you, see what's available before you kind of make any rash decisions, get all of that information ready and think about it, and then make that decision afterwards. So a few of the questions to kind of consider and make the best choice. So are you happy with your firm choice? That's got to be the ultimate decision you've got to think about. Are you happy with the choice, the place that you have at university? Are you happy with the firm choice you've chosen? Remember all the reasons why you chose that as your firm choice to begin with. Are you still comfortable with that? Are you happy with that? Are you looking forward to that prospect? If you are, don't worry about adjustment. I said you don't have to go through adjustment, but it's worth kind of considering. What courses and universities are available through things like adjustment? Again, not every university will be available through adjustment. Not every course will be available through adjustment. So you just do need to do that research and find out that information. But also you need to think about things like accommodation. If you're going to a university and you've already got accommodation there, going through adjustment, it may be a bit more difficult to get accommodation, or you may be not able to get your first or second or third choice accommodation at that university because students that already have their firm choice may already have that. So again, think about those things. As well, think about whether or not you've visited that university before. Obviously, the last 12 months, 18 months, it's been really hard to visit universities. So if you've not been able to visit that university in person, again, are you comfortable with kind of making that decision? Or do those universities offer visit days? Do they offer opportunities for you to come and have a look around in the days sort of straight after results day? And finally, ultimately, will you be happy with your new course in university? You need to really think about this, as that's got to be the fundamental of all of this, and should have really been at the forefront of your thinking when applying for courses in the first place, is what you'll be happy with, what you're going to be comfortable with, what you're looking, what you want to do ultimately rather than anybody else wants to do. You need to make sure that you're happy and comfortable with that choice. So what happens if you don't get the grades that you should? So what happens if you don't get the grades that you're expecting? First and foremost, obviously, stay calm. Stay calm. There are different options. It's obviously disappointing. Feel those emotions, but ultimately, once you've kind of had that time to process, you picked yourself up and got over that. Not necessarily got over that disappointment straight away, but started to process that disappointment. You want to get straight to it because time does tick very quickly when it comes to things like clearing and adjustment and all that type of stuff. Once you've kind of got your grades, if you haven't got the grades that you expected, I would still recommend checking Ucas. So don't assume that perhaps you are asked to get A, B, and you got 3 Bs that you're automatically not going to that university. Still check Ucas. Sometimes universities will still give you your place if you've missed your grade by 1 or 2. Again, there's no kind of uniform way of this. You can't confirm that's exactly what's going to happen, or can't confirm that's not exactly what's going to happen. But sometimes universities will still accept you. Ultimately, universities will want to take students that really want to go there fundamentally. So if you've missed your grade by 1, they may then still give you your place at university, whether or not, even though you may have missed the grades they asked for. So again, check your Ucas, make sure you're happy. I had a friend when I was going through this many years ago that wanted to go to one of the big Scottish universities. She missed her grades by a couple and still got in, was very shocked that she had still got in, rang the university and they were like, yeah, you've got in. If Ucas says you've got in, you've got in. So again, still check that even if your results haven't quite gone the way that you expected. Third one is to stay at home. Obviously, it's been recommended to us over the last 18 months anyway, so we should all be pretty comfortable in our homes and have things set up anyway. But the reason we stay at home once perhaps you've gone to school or college to get your results, or if they're online, still stay at home, is mainly so you're in a comfortable environment. Again, this can be quite emotional. It can be quite disappointing. It can be quite happy. It can be a mixture of emotions that you're going to be going through. So stay at home, stay in a comfortable environment that don't necessarily go out in public. Sometimes if you are going to pick up results at school, sometimes you can do this clearing stuff at school or college as well. Again, depends on what your particular school or college is doing at the moment and whether or not they're allowing students to come in to collect results and stay there or not. Pre-COVID, some schools some careers advisors would sit with students and go through options and stuff. Again, I'm not sure how that's going to work this year or how it worked last year. So usually kind of what I would recommend in this instance, in this current environment, just stay at home, collect your results, come home, or collect your results, check your Ucas, come home. If you need to go through clearing, you're in a safe environment with all of your stuff there. Also, it's important to stay connected. If you're at home, you know that you'll have good Wi-Fi, you know that you have a good phone signal, or a good, perhaps a landline phone as well that you can call off. I would recommend if you do have a landline phone, calling off a landline phone, just because the line's a lot more stable and less likely to kind of dip in and out. Obviously, your phone signal is a bit different, but obviously, yeah, make sure you've got Wi-Fi, you've got phone signal. You perhaps said if you have a landline, you have access to the landline, whatever it is, because you want to stay connected. You want to be able to do all of your research, but also you want to contact your universities as well. Some universities may want to call you back. So if you've been made an offer, Some academics might want to call you back just to kind of talk through your options with you, and talk about the course that you've been made an offer of, etc., etc. So you want to make sure you're staying connected. You have your phone on, you have your phone off silent, off do not disturb, ready to take any calls, emails, whatever that is. And last but not least is start early. This is why we say kind of getting an early night is important, because once you've got your results, you found out your place on Ucas track, whether that's 7, 8 o'clock in the morning, 9 o'clock in the morning, you want to get started on your research, you want to get started on ringing universities, because lots of universities is a first come first serve place for offers, not necessarily for accepting those offers, but for offers. Some courses may close really early on and not reopen again. So again, start early, consider that. Wrong way. So what do you need to do? What are the things that you need before you start calling? So say, for example, you're going to go through clearing or can go through adjustment. What do you need to have before you even start picking up the phone? First and foremost, you need your Ucas login, because you're going to need your Ucas login to make changes and refer yourself. So when you get made an offer through Ucas, you can collect as many offers as you want through clearing, but you will ultimately need to go log on to Ucas and refer yourself on Ucas track. The university probably will give you a time and a date that you need to do that by to confirm your offer. So you will need your Ucas login. You can also need your Ucas number, because you're going to have to give that to the person over the phone so we can look you up and we can find out all the information that we need about you. The course info and the uni info, so stuff about the courses and the universities you're interested in, and phone numbers as well. Again, you're going to have to call these universities. I know calling isn't always particularly fun or enjoyable, but you're unfortunately in this instance you're just going to have to do it. You're going to have to call universities. You're going to get to speak to lovely people and friendly people like myself on results day, who will be able to talk you through all the process and help you, give you kind of all the information that you need, and hopefully make you an offer. So yeah, jot down the phone numbers, jot down the courses, maybe the course number. They have little codes. Jot down that, just so you have all that information in front of you. And finally, you need a list of your grades. So these will be like your A levels, BTECs, or equivalents, or whatever you've got, IB, whatever that is. But also GCSE grades. So some universities will ask for a specific grade in a specific subject at GCSE. Some may just ask for general subjects. So at Royal Holloway, as a general rule of thumb, we ask for 5 GCSEs, grades 4 to 9, including English and maths. That's just our general kind of overall. If you're looking to do something like maths, we may then ask for a maths requirement as well. So my recommendation is list the grades that you've just received, your A levels, BTEC, whatever that is, and all of your GCSEs as well, because just so you have it in front of you there, so you have it there, basically to give that information over straight away, and you're not having to rustle through folders with your certificates or try and quickly type and find your grades, etc., etc. You have that all that information in front of you. And what do you actually need to do on results day? So first and foremost, obviously find a course. Find a course if you're going to go through clearing. Find a course that you're interested in. Call the university again, like we've kind of already mentioned, and then add that final choice to your Ucas track. So that's is what I referred to earlier as referring yourself. So basically, once you're in clearing, it will give you an option to add a course and a university. We'll then tie up the loose ends behind the scenes with Ucas and yourself and the university, and kind of finding your grades, etc., etc., and confirming that what you've told us is correct. So if you've told us you've got ABB, we're just going to confirm that you have got ABB, etc., etc. So yes, and some universities will give you a deadline in which that you need to refer yourself on Ucas track to make sure that your offer is fixed. If you don't accept that offer or refer yourself on Ucas track by a certain time, you may then lose that offer. So again, bear that in mind. Listen carefully on the phone once you've been made the offer, and listen to what the people on the other end are saying about kind of what your options are, when you need to accept this by. As we can see, the first 2 steps, you may need to repeat this multiple times. As I said, you can get kind of as many offers as you want, really, I guess. You can ring as many universities as you want and kind of find out what's going on and really see what's out there. So you want to kind of do that first and kind of get the lay of the land and see kind of what's available. So that might involve calling 2 or 3 different universities, seeing what's available, and then working out what's best for you and referring yourself then. So again, you might need to repeat these steps multiple times. So that's why we recommend starting early. Phone lines at universities, some phone lines open at silly o'clock, 5:30 before you've even got your results or got your Ucas confirmation. At Royal Holloway, our call centre, I believe, opens at 8:30. I should know this. We're getting there at 8 o'clock, but you can call obviously before that anyway. The admission staff will be there already. So it really is kind of making sure that you're aware of that these things are happening. As I said, some courses will close earlier. There's no policy that all courses need to enter clearing and that all courses need to stay throughout clearing. They do open and close as they fill up, basically. So a few tips and our timelines as well. So we can actually start with a timeline instead of the tips. So clearing has been open for a month now. So it opened on the 5th of July for students that got their grades early or perhaps got their grades last year or whatever. The main kind of clearing day is Tuesday the 10th of August. That's Tuesday coming. That's when A-level results day is, but that's also when adjustment opens as well. So that is usually the busy day for universities, is the 10th of August. That's when we get through lots of different calls and give lots of offers. Adjustment closes a week later, or a week and a day later, on the 18th of August. So adjustment's only open for a week or so. So if you are considering adjustment, you will have less time. Clearing doesn't close until the 19th of October. So you do have time, but bear in mind that usually the university term starts 3 weeks before that. Usually, maybe the 23rd, 24th of September, term will start that kind of week. So bear that in mind if you are thinking about going to university this year. But clearing does close a lot later on. So again, it's worth knowing this information. I said the main days are going to be that 2nd and that Tuesday the 10th and Wednesday the 11th of August. That's going to be kind of the main days of clearing, and usually are the main days of clearing. So, but you do have time after that if you are interested and you haven't got offers at that point yet. So my clearing and results day tips. What do I suggest? So first and foremost, think about your options. Don't necessarily rush into any of these decisions. Do think about what the options are available to you. If you haven't got into your firm insurance, that is obviously disappointing. But is this year the right year for you? Is next year going to be a better year? Having a year to do a gap year or to go back and resit exams or do whatever that is going to be for you, is that a better option? Is university still for you, even though you haven't got into your firm insurance? Hopefully for many of you it still will, and you won't be put off by that experience. But there are lots of different options out there: apprenticeships, traineeships, entry-level schemes, part-time, full-time jobs, whatever that is. That's worth thinking about. So do think about your options. So don't rush into anything straight away. Do your research. You said do look into this information. Do get an idea of what you're actually signing up for in the similar way that you did when you applied for university. Don't kind of do any less research than you would have when you first applied. Do kind of do your due diligence. Do find out about the universities. Do see what's out there and available. Ask advice. Speak to people, family, friends, teachers, careers advisors, the people on the end of the phone that you're going to be ringing up at universities. More often than not, we'll be able to give you advice that might be slightly biased advice, perhaps, but you may also find impartial advice. I can say hand on heart, I love working for Royal Holloway. I'd always recommend working for Royal Holloway. But if you rang up and got through to me on results day, I would give you impartial advice about what I would suggest doing next and what your decisions may be. Nobody's going to tell you what to do. Ultimately, this needs to come down to you, and you need to decide what that is. But inevitably, you will be able to still get advice from people and get an idea of kind of what they suggest or what they suggest to do. Don't rush. Kind of similar to thinking about your options and doing your research. Yes, you're going to have to be quick. Yes, you're going to have to, if you want to go through clearing and want to go to university this year, yes, we do recommend you ring on the Tuesday morning or the Tuesday afternoon. But don't rush into that decision. If you've completely not made up your mind and you're not sure, if you have a bit of an inkling, maybe ring up and get offers. So you have something there and you have something physical that you can decide on, and then you kind of put yourself in a good position. But ultimately, don't rush into anything that you don't necessarily want to do. Do take time to think about it, and make sure you're making the right decision for you. That's got to be the most important thing that you do here, is not being pressured into making any decisions on anything in particular. Make sure that whatever you decide to do is right for you, and that's what you want to do. Okay, so that is the end of my presentation elements. That's the end of kind of my information that I'm going to give you today. We're going to hand over to you guys. So I've seen a few questions pop up in the chat while I've been talking, but I'm going to pop my camera on. I'm going to invite Evie also to pop her camera on as well, so that we can, so you can see us while we're answering your questions. And we will start taking questions from the chat in a moment. Hello, everyone. You can see me now. That's great. Or hopefully you can see me now and hear me. Just gonna, there we go. Hi, Evie. You okay?
Hiya, yeah, I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. And I can hear you, which is excellent. That's great. Hopefully everyone else can hear both of us and see both of us. So did you want to just kind of give us a little bit of a context into kind of like your experience with clearing adjustment and stuff like that, and kind of how you got to where you got to and all of that type of stuff? I think that'd be a really good start.
Yeah, so first off, I think everyone on this call, on this webinar, is already in a much better position than I was, because I didn't prepare for clearing in the slightest. It was a really overwhelming experience because I hadn't done the research and I hadn't prepared for it, and it did take me by a huge surprise. So the fact that people are on this call already, they're in a much better position than I was. So I have just graduated from Royal Holloway. I was studying liberal arts. So at the time of applying for university, that was quite a niche course. Not many universities offered it. So my kind of whole application process to uni was a bit of a unconventional one. And I think I actually only had a firm choice university. I don't think I had the second option because the course was quite limited. So I missed out. I didn't get the grades. And so I went through clearing, and it was a very stressful morning, and if I'd done my research more, I could have kind of lessened that stress, I imagine. But I ended up getting loads of offers from loads of different universities I'd never considered before, and ended up choosing Holloway for the course. And obviously it's a great university, it's a lovely place. And actually the course I got onto at Royal Holloway was matched, if not better than the course I was looking at already at a different university. So the whole thing actually really worked out in my favour, and has obviously turned into me getting my degree now and having a really fantastic 4 years. So no regrets with going through clearing in the slightest.
Perfect. That was really positive as well to hear. Kind of, I said, even though you hadn't necessarily done the right prep or anything like that, you still kind of got your place, got your offers, and obviously are a sort of clearing success story, if you let me call you that. So we've had lots of questions. As I said, I'm going to kind of go between myself and Evie. So I'm going to try and answer some maybe more the technical stuff, and I'll hand over the kind of the more specific kind of other bits and pieces to Evie as well. So the first one is, can you ask for a deferred place in clearing? I'm happy to answer that one if you want.
So I have an answer because I had a deferred place. Royal Holloway offered me a deferred option. A lot of universities didn't. I had a lot of offers based on the fact that I had to start in September. They wouldn't give me that deferred offer. So I think it probably is very varied on the university and even down to what course you're going for. So I don't think there's a straight answer with that one, is there?
No, you're completely right. So yeah, most universities are quite reluctant to do that because obviously the offers and the grades change every year. So you know, often that's not always something that's available or possible. And like you said, it can often come down to the individual and the course. From my experience of doing clearing, so this is my 5th year of clearing. I personally have never made a deferred offer, and from my experience, we've not, at Royal Holloway specifically, not really do that particularly frequently. So it does depend on the individual, does depend on the course and all those bits and pieces. So yeah, unfortunately there isn't a kind of like you said, a straight answer. There's not a straightforward answer. It's a bit more complicated than that. So what date will you release your grade requirements? I kind of touched on that in the session. So we're still finalizing our grades at the moment, so there's no kind of fixed date at the moment, unfortunately. It may be tomorrow, it may be Monday, it may just be Tuesday. It's unfortunately, these are decisions that are made way above my head and decisions that are made a lot higher level. So I'm unable to kind of, I said, confirm what those grades will be, but also I'm unable to confirm when that is because we're still, as I said, working out those bits and pieces. I can promise you that the grades will be finalized by Tuesday, by results day, but it may be a case of on Tuesday, it's a case of ringing up. They may not be on our website. Last year we did advertise on what our grades were and what vacancies were. Again, there's lots of conversations that are taking place at the moment about whether or not that's going to happen again this year. So some universities will do that. Some universities will list everything that's available on their website. Some may just encourage you to ring them and find out. So unfortunately, again, there's no kind of straight answer. I think that's going to be a theme going through all of these questions, to be honest with you. I don't think there is going to be a straight answer because it is so dependent on the university and on the course and on the individual as well. If you're appealing a grade, would this affect your chance of getting an offer? Did you want me to answer that one? Yeah, cool, great. So yeah, again, it's university by university, it's course by course, it's individual by individual. Again, from my experience, and this is a Royal Holloway experience, we can only make offers on what you have, so what your offers are, basically, so what your grades are, sorry. We can only make offers on that. If you are appealing, we usually recommend that you ring back once your appeal's gone through. Obviously, this can be a bit of a pain because it can take time, etc., etc. But there's no guarantee from our end as a university and universities as overall, not just Royal Holloway, that your appeal is going to come back in your favour necessarily. Hopefully, it will. Fingers crossed. But we can only make offers on what you have and what your grades are. Again, that's from my experience. That's from my experience at Royal Holloway. I said I can't speak for all universities. I can't speak for all courses. I can't speak for all students. But from my experience, yeah, usually it's a case that that we can only make offers on what the grades you have are, basically. If I'm taking a gap year until 2022, I wanted to go through clearing adjustment, would I have to go through clearing adjustment this year or next year? Did you end up taking your deferred?
Yeah, so I went through clearing in 2016. I think I started university. Well, I know I started university in 2017. So as I say, some universities were not offering me deferred places, and Holloway was. So I think I don't have a clue if this would be a way of going around it, but if you did have your own university that is not offering you deferred, maybe it'd be worth leaving it to the next year of clearing, but then obviously each year changes and circumstances changes of what's available. So I think it's always worth ringing up and just seeing what's available, and just see what the offer is before making any decisions, because you never know.
Yeah, I'd completely agree. I think with clearing, it is a case of you never know. It's worth ringing, it's worth asking the question, it's worth getting that information. As I said, as we've said, pretty much all these questions, we can't guarantee, we can't say yes or no in many of these instances. But as Evie just said, like ringing up, finding out, seeing what's on offer, seeing what's available is worth doing. But ultimately as well, if it's a case of not going through clearing this year and going through clearing next year, you have your grades. So you might not necessarily have to go through clearing next year. You can reapply through Ucas, because you have your grades, assuming that those grades are to the standard of what the universities you're applying to are asking for, you may even be made an unconditional offer off the back of that, because you already have those grades, because you've already achieved those grades. That may be also a possibility or an option. So as I said, as you said, ring up universities, see what they can offer you. But if they're not offering you a deferred place this year, then reapply next year or go through clearing next year as well, because you'll have your grades already. Are verbal offers on the phone guaranteed? If you're being made a verbal offer, yes, but there's usually like a deadline. So usually it might be, if we've made you an offer on the Tuesday morning, you have to accept that by Wednesday morning. You have 24 hours, and then after that, it's first come, first serve. So you'll be told on the phone by whoever you ring, whatever course you're applying for, what those policies are and when you need to accept it by, what you need to do. All those bits and pieces, you will be told those on the offer. But once you've been made an offer over the phone, that is an offer that we've made to you. That is guaranteed all the while that you've referred yourself on track by the time that we've told you, or before that deadline, and also that your grades are what you've told us. So if you've told us you've got 3 A stars, but then we go and have a look at your file and you've got 3 Cs, that offer is obviously going to be taken away, because we've made you an offer on the proviso that you've got those grades you've told us. So there's a bit of trust that we give over to you as students to tell us the truth, I guess. So yeah, they're guaranteed all the while that you said you refer yourself by the deadline, and you're not lying about your grades, I guess. That's probably the sort of the fundamental of it. Another question about vacancies, course vacancies. As I said a moment ago, nothing's been confirmed yet. We're still kind of discussing bits and pieces. At university, I say we are discussing. I'm not discussing anything. Higher up are discussing bits and pieces, all information about kind of what the grades and the vacancies are going to be. On our website, if you go to the clearing webpage, which I'll pop up, actually I probably can pop up on the board now if you bear with me. There we go. You will be able to, so you can check out our website, and basically on our website, you'll be able to get all the information, like signing up to like SMS alerts. So when the vacancies are released and stuff like that, so you can sign up to text alerts, which may be a really good way of kind of getting that information. For this year, does Royal Holloway guarantee accommodation for clearing and adjustment? Again, I'm happy to answer this one. Sorry, Evie. This year, we're again still being worked out. In the previous years we have, and I'm personally hopeful that we will again this year. Again, that's something that's going to be kind of clarified a little bit further down the line over the next couple of days. But over the last 2 or 3 years, we have been able to guarantee accommodation for students that come through clearing, that have referred themselves on track by a certain point and have applied for accommodation by a certain point as well. So it's not you have a guaranteed place in accommodation, full stop. You still have to go through that process and through those procedures to get that information, or to get that offer and get that accommodation. So yeah, I said we're still being worked out at the moment. I said check out the website. It may have been updated since I last checked. So do check that out, but that may be something that is available at Royal Holloway again. So I've just lost, I can't see either myself or Evie, so bear with me 1 second, I'm just going to turn my camera off and on. There we go, cool, perfect. If you don't get grades for a conditional offer, can you still apply for the same union course through clearing? Did you want to take this one, Evie?
I mean, I think grades for conditional offer. I don't know if I know the answer to that one.
I'm happy to. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, I mean, go for it.
So yeah, of course. Like, say for example that you applied to Royal Holloway in the first round, you didn't get made an offer, but then you've come back to clearing and you've seen there's a vacancy on the course. You can apply. You can apply to whoever you want really through clearing. It doesn't matter if you've applied there before or not. It is really down to you, assuming that you meet the requirements they're asking and you have the grades, etc., etc. That's not necessarily an issue. You can kind of, yeah, said crack on with that, I guess it's completely down to you. Again, I would recommend just ringing up and asking, because if there's a particular reason why they didn't make you an offer in the first instance, so that might be, say, GCSE requirements. If they haven't changed, then chances are they're still not going to be able to make you an offer. If it's you didn't have the grade requirements, grades sometimes do fluctuate throughout clearing, so they may go down, they may go up. So again, it's worth ringing and asking what their grade requirements are at the moment. So again, you know, perhaps if the offer the predicted grades that they wanted you to get was A, B, B, and you were predicted 3 Bs and they didn't make you an offer, but now they've lowered that to 3 Bs and you got 3 Bs, you may be able to get a place there. So yeah, I said it's kind of no, it's not really a big no. It's a kind of do ring up and find that information out. I've heard clearing starts at 2 p.m. on Tuesday. I'm a little confused, which means in real terms, if the university clearing phone lines open at 8:30, as I presume, you can also get provisional offers from this time. So clearing, I said, is open now. So clearing has been open since the 5th of July, basically. So if you've received your grades already, you could have gone, you can go through clearing now. So say you got your grades last year, or you got, I don't know, BTECs usually, or IBs usually a little bit earlier, but I'm not sure if that's changed this year with teacher assessed grades. So yeah, I say clearing is open now. So if you've got your grades, you can ring up and offers can be made if you've got your grades. So the main day for this will be Tuesday the 10th. And yeah, the phone lines will usually open around 8:30. Some universities a little earlier, some universities a little bit later. You know, again, it's a university by university basis. But yeah, you can offers can be made. Basically, I said clearing's open. So yeah. If you get a verbal offer that you want to accept, then you decline your place on Ucas. How do you then accept the offer? I'm happy to. Do you want me to take this one?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember how I did this. If I rang back or if I emailed, I think, did they send an email through which you can reply to? I think that's what I did eventually.
So the system's changed a little bit over the last couple of years. So in previous years, if say for example you still were holding your firm choice and you decided to go through clearing and go elsewhere, you'd have to ring that the university that had you as your firm choice and ask them to release you, basically. Now that's changed because some universities took a little bit longer than others to release students. So you can release yourself, basically. You can decline your place on Ucas, and it's all very clear on Ucas track. So it will say decline my place. Again, don't touch that button until you have perhaps an offer, because yeah, that's kind of final. And then basically what will happen then is if you've declined that, you'll be entered into clearing on your Ucas, and basically you then refer yourself on track. I said it is very clear when you see it in front of you. It's very clear when you have it kind of in front of you, and it will tell you all that information on there. And again, the universities will also tell you over the phone. My school isn't giving me my results at. My school is giving me my results at 10:30. Could this hinder my chance of getting made an offer by Royal Holloway, as I will be phoning up later than many students, thus available spaces could be gone? When did you ring up out of interest, Evie?
Yeah, so I think from memory now, my results I think my results got released at like 6 a.m. or something, but then Ucas didn't open till 8 or 8:30, whatever it was. So I had a few hours just sat there, just waiting for Ucas to tell me. And then it was I had like a bit of time to just like compose myself, get myself together. I was with my mum and my sister. So I think we spent the morning ringing round. And if I remember correctly, I think I must have accepted an offer from Holloway. I think it was around 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock on the same day. So it wasn't first thing in the morning, but we still had that big chunk of time ringing around. Because obviously there's a process as well. The phone calls aren't that quick. You've got the questions to answer and, you know, going through the options. So it's not just bam, bam, bam to all the different universities. You're having like quite lengthy chats with people. So I think 10:30, I don't think, obviously the longer it goes on, the less chance, but I think 10:30 would be fine in the morning, because as I say, from Holloway, I think I was accepting that offer in the afternoon around 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock. So I think that should be fine, 10:30.
Yeah, I'd agree. I said there's no definite. Unfortunately, we can't say yep, 100% you'll be fine. It really depends on the courses. It really depends on what you apply, etc., etc., etc. But I think everything you've said, Eve, is pretty fair. Most courses won't close by 10:30. Again, it depends on what you're applying for and where. But yeah, from my experience, majority of courses will be open for at least the first day, or at least till like lunchtime on the first day, if not until, you know, longer over the period. Again, depends on the course, depends on if they've gone into clearing in the first place anyway. But yeah, 10:30 you should be fine.
Because I don't know if they're doing this again this year, but I'm pretty sure last year Holloway were like live tweeting the kind of availability still or something like that. So it might be worth checking out the social media accounts to see if they're doing like updates on what they're at with the spaces and things like that.
Yeah, really good point. Yeah, 100%. I said you can, if you want live, if you want text alerts to your phone, you can sign up to Royal Holloway SMS text alerts as well, which are, yeah, I said, can you find out bits and pieces, but like you said, yeah, track it on social media as you would with kind of anything else. If you don't meet your firm offer, do you automatically get accepted to your insurance, or do you have to go through clearing? So you will, if you've met your requirements of your insurance offer, you'll be accepted to your insurance offer, basically. So say, for example, your firm is 3As and your insurance is 3Bs, and you've got 3Bs and didn't get into your firm, but you still met your requirements for your insurance, you'll be accepted by insurance. That's the purpose of the insurance, really, is to kind of be a bit of like a safety net, I guess. Again, it's down to you whether or not you want to go to your insurance. If you're happy with that, then perfect, great, you've got that place. But ultimately, you can also ring around, find out offers, see what's available at other universities if you wanted to. My advice wouldn't necessarily would be to ring your firm choice. I said some students in the past have asked, oh, I was rejected by my firm choice because I didn't meet my offers. Should I ring them again and see if I can, get in on a course? If they've not confirmed your place and you've gone to insurance, there's going to be a reason for that. So I don't think that would have changed, in the space of less than 24 hours. So my advice is, if you are wanting to go through, clearing rather than accept your insurance choice, but you're going to ring your firm choice, I wouldn't do that. Just either accept your insurance choice or look elsewhere. If you're changing the sub, sorry. Go on.
As I say, is it worth saying as well with Holloway? I know a few friends that didn't get the requirements for the course they applied to, but then Holloway sent them an email with a slightly different course offer. So it might be worth checking the emails as well to see if Holloway have made a slightly different offer on a different course for you. It's not necessarily a flat out no if you've missed the grades for a Holloway course.
Yeah, no, thank you for that. Was a really good point that I probably should have mentioned. Yeah, like I said, sometimes we will make you an offer on a different course or a slightly different course. Say, for example, you didn't get the grades for history, but you got the grades for like ancient history or something like that. Then we may make you that offer, or whatever it is. That's again, there's a feasibility. Again, that'll be on your Ucas. You'll be emailed about that as well. That'll be information that's sent to you, and it's down to you then to decide what's what, basically. If you're changing the subject you're applying for, should you write a new personal statement? From what I'm aware, no, you won't need to. Your personal statement stands in that respect. So at this stage with clearing, it's usually grades dependent. It'll be grades dependent, and it'll go down to that. So you shouldn't have to write a new personal statement. But if you do, the university will let you know. But I've not ever heard of that being anything. Obviously you went on to do liberal arts. Was that what you applied for in the first instance as well?
Yes, it was a different. So because it's such a niche course, every university kind of has a different name for it and a slightly different structure. But essentially, yeah, it was what I applied for. Yeah.
Cool. How can we get unconditional confirmed offers using clearing without declining our firm offer? You can't really, I'm afraid. So I said the verbal offers over the phone are essentially will be unconditional offers, assuming that you've met the requirements because you've already received your grades. So it's a bit of a chicken or egg situation. If you've been made an offer through clearing that you want to accept, you have to decline your firm, but you only want to decline your firm if you've been made an offer through clearing. So it's kind of a bit of both. You can't you can get the verbal offer over the phone, but you can't then confirm that whilst also having your firm place there as well. You can only have one firm place. So ultimately, you need to decide that kind of what that situation is, what that you want from that. But I said over the phone, universities will tell you otherwise if it's not the case. But over the phone, the verbal offers that are made over the phone are guaranteed offers, assuming that you meet those requirements that are laid out to you, that you accept your place by a certain time, you confirm yourself on track, and etc., etc., etc. And again, there will be an email that usually will follow that after your phone call. It might not be direct, it might not be straight away, it may be a couple of hours, it may be whatever, but you don't have to wait for that email to refer yourself. Once you've had that verbal offer over the phone, as Evie said a moment ago again, which is something perhaps I should have mentioned, these calls take maybe 10 minutes, 15 minutes, could take longer depending on kind of what your circumstances are, etc., etc., because we have to fill out a form. Basically, we have to fill out a form to then submit, and that kind of submits it on our system, giving you kind of a peek behind the curtain a little bit. We fill out a form, we ask you all those questions, we submit it on our system. You then have to refer yourself on track. We then said sort of join up the dots and kind of link everything together, check that the grades that you've told us are correct, done, finished, confirmed. So yeah, it is a bit of a not necessarily a leap in the dark, but I said if you're going to accept the offer you've been made over the phone, you will, if you're still holding your firm offer, will need to decline your firm place if you want to do that, basically. If you've received firm confirmation and still, if you want to go through clearing, is Ucas going to give us the option to search and clearing number is doing clearing? So even if you've had your firm place confirmed and that's basically there, but you still want to go through clearing, how does that work? Basically, if you still have your firm choice, but you want to see what the options are in clearing, you can ring around universities and ask. Like you can ring around universities, ask what the grades are, be made an offer, and have offers from those universities before you decide ultimately what you want to do. That is a possibility. As you said a little bit earlier, that's kind of what you did in the morning, wasn't it? You rang up universities and stuff, and then kind of decided later.
Yeah, I think we just rang around everyone. I think at the end I had 6 offers, and then yeah, it was holding all of those offers and then making a choice. So it wasn't a decision, it wasn't making that decision on that same phone call of receiving the offer. I think ring around all the universities you're interested in, see what offers are on the table, take some time, have a big think about it, and then make some decisions about whether you're accepting or declining them. You don't have to make that decision straight away. So yeah.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah, completely. Okay, so we're running out of time. So if anybody's got any last minute questions, do please pop them in the chat. But in the meantime, while we're waiting for questions, I have a couple of questions for you, Evie, about like your process. So how did you obviously said you're holding 6 offers. How did you decide on Royal Holloway and that was going to be your place? Not necessarily in the sense of, oh, Royal Holloway is amazing, this is why, etc., but like how did you, between those 6 offers, how did you kind of whittle them down to decide?
Yeah, so some of them were really easy for me to turn down because I was very adamant that I wanted a year out, and some of the offers were that was an option to defer, so that was a very easy no for me. Some of the offers were from universities that didn't offer liberal arts, so they were slightly different courses. I think SOAS offered me something like English and Mandarin or something, and I was like, no, that's not for me. So some were very easy no's, and then I think Royal Holloway was that kind of perfect combination of the course was very similar, as I said, if not better than the one that I was looking for originally. The location being near London, that was also something that was attracting me to it. They offered me the deferred year. So it was kind of just ticking all the boxes that some of the other university offers sometimes it's quite an easy decision, and because the course was so niche, I don't think I was in that position where I had options. In fact, I had offers, but then weren't all necessarily like viable choices. So for me, actually, the choices were it was quite a simple decision when it came down to what actually fitted me well.
Excellent. How did you decide on what universities to call? Was it just you just did a search in the morning? Were they ones that you'd applied for before, or did you have like a list?
Yeah, so some of them ones that I'd applied to before, and then also because I have my sister with me, I've got an older sister who I think she was coming to the end of her degree at the time, or she just started her master's or something. So we based it on her friends and where they'd been at university, any good stories from that. And also, yeah, I think we started off looking at other London universities because the one I'd applied for that I got rejected from was London. So we thought, let's kind of start in location wise and then also courses. As I said, the course I was applying to was really niche, that there wasn't, we kind of started with London location, but then also, okay, let's branch out to where this course is on offer in other places. But as I say, that wasn't a great deal of universities. So as I say, we ended up ringing places that gave me really random course offers as well. But again, it's kind of, we did that and we rang around places that weren't necessarily on my mind or had the right course, but just to get that choice back, because I think when you don't get the results that you were quite expecting and you go through clearing, it feels a bit like, it's just a bit disorientating. I think for us it was just trying to get, and for me, getting that choice back, getting that feeling of a bit of freedom with my options again and not feeling limited and restricted to something. So I'd say it's worth just ringing around. Obviously start with your priorities and the places you're wanting to most interested in the courses, but I think as well, don't I think just go for it. And if you have the time to go do extra and call extra people, then I think it's always worth seeing, because yeah, as I said earlier, you never know what the offer is going to be. You could find something that you've not considered before, and it is that real opportunity to get that choice back and get that freedom back, to really kind of make the most of the options out there, and don't restrict yourself as well.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with everything said. It's a bit like you said, taking back a bit of control over kind of what your options are, and like you said, I think that's a really important thing to say, and a really kind of important thing for students to listen to if they're going to be going through clearing. Okay, so we've not got any more questions. I think we're going to wrap up. Before we wrap up, last, like, what would be the kind of like your one piece of advice, last kind of big sort of tip perhaps that you may not have covered already or anything like that? What would you say is your kind of tip for students going through clearing?
I would say, so everything we've already said before, but I think if you can, make sure you've got someone there to support you through it, because it can be really overwhelming. And I think hopefully once you've gone through it and you've kind of got a good outcome, allow yourself to be happy and allow yourself to celebrate, because I think when you have that kind of disheartening feeling of not getting the grades that you were quite expecting, it's quite easy to let yourself feel down about it and not get excited and happy about going to university. And I think allow yourself to be really proud of what you've achieved and to feel happy and to feel excited for university, because I think I fell in a bit of a trap of not letting myself feel happy and excited, because I was so disappointed in the results. But you will have achieved so much, you've done so well in just getting through your A levels and getting the results regardless of what they are. So I think hopefully once you've gone through the clearing process, if you need to do it, just let yourself, have that celebration that you would have had if you didn't have to go through clearing. It's still a massive achievement, and there's no kind of shame or stigma in having to go through clearing at all.
I think that's a really lovely way to end. I can't say anything more. I think that's a really nice way to end. So thank you so much, and thank you everyone for coming along today. I hope this has been interesting, insightful, useful to you all. So as you kind of are leaving and stuff, there will be an evaluation form that's going to pop. So please give us any feedback on the session or anything like that. But otherwise, thank you very much for coming, and best of luck next week or whenever you call clearing and stuff like that. So thank you again, and good luck.